Hi, a very good morning to you, and thanks for joining us on our program today, Daybreak Africa on TV and television Nigeria. I'm Keisha Ondie. Well, this is one program where we talked about trending stories about Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. And today is very special. You know why I call it special? Because we have a very wonderful personality right here, and I have a wonderful person again that you would love to meet over and over again as we proceed on this very segment today, and you will love to also listen to. Beginning with some of the stories we have in Nigeria. I know you're aware that a lot of political actors are not ready to give sleeps to their eyes to make sure that comes 2023, they become what exactly they are vying for. So today, we are so happy that we have a very wonderful and interesting segment to run this morning. Please join us as we welcome our guest here. Well, I have a very special guest today, and he will be joining us on this segment. And beyond that guest, I have the in-house guest, someone I love so dearly, and I also want to have on this set over and over again. So let's get to roll. Thank you so much. And it's good to have you here, Mr. Ruben, the in-house guest. Very special person to be.
I come in peace.
Okay.
As always.
All right, thank you so very much for coming in peace. Well, Nigeria is not recognizing your peace aspect. You can go in peace. Sometimes they determine if you stay in peace or not.
Yeah, well, it's good to be peaceful because without peace we cannot have development.
All right.
We should all have attitude towards creating peace.
Right.
Peace with your brother, peace with your enemy. There's no need to be enemy with people forever.
That's right.
Because you don't know whether your grandchildren are going to marry themselves later.
Right.
So that's the reason why
I wish Nigerian leaders will understand this.
To some extent they understand though, because politicians when they fight on the pages of newspapers, in the night they will go and take tea. It's just like sport people. Do you know that when Chelsea and Arsenal on the pitch, they'll be struggling. After that match, they'll go and take tea.
Definitely.
And just like wrestlers too.
Yeah.
They'll beat themselves, do this and that and that and that. For where behind the scene, they'll go and take tea. So it's good to cultivate peace because
right.
you don't know where you're going to meet again.
That's right.
So peace is necessary for development, necessary for relationship.
Okay, but let's before we get to our guest today, what are your expectations in some of the trending stories that will be coming up? Assuming you haven't seen any of them and you're really looking out for something, what are your expectations?
Yeah, we are always as a media man,
right.
we always look out for news break,
right?
Because news are breaking every minute.
Yeah.
And so one of the breaking news that we had last night was the fact that the APC flag bearer met with Khan the other day. Right. I mean yesterday and it was a fruitful meeting. It is not like the other one that we had fake bishops. This one is
okay. This was real.
This was real, authentic.
All right.
Khan officials wanted to see Tinubu and other presidential candidates, and it's part of the activity.
Right.
Okay. So this one is not a fake. They are not fake anymore. It's official now that Khan is meeting with all the presidential candidates.
All right. All right, that's how we'll be rolling this morning, beginning with some of the trending stories. We'll move over to the main issue that we'll be discussing today.
Don't forget what happened.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get to that aspect, please join me as we welcome a very wonderful personality. He's a Nigerian, he's a patriotic Nigerian. I'm talking about Dr. Uche Ogbuaja. He is a public affairs commentator, a publisher, editor-in-chief, Ikenga Online. He's not just ordinary Nigerian. So join me as we welcome Doctor on the set today. It's good to have you here, Doctor.
Thank you.
Yeah, far from him, so let me give you a handshake.
Thank you, but the point of correction, I'm not Dr. Uche Ogbuaja, I'm Uche Ogbuaja.
Oh, Uche Ogbuaja, okay.
You know the reason, because now everybody now wants to be doctors, engineers, Nigerians with a title.
Definitely, yeah. So it's good to have you here this morning.
My pleasure.
All right. So how has it been with you, being a publisher, editor, and How's it been? The business and looking at the political era where we are.
Yeah, you do know that the media business all over the world now is, if you are looking at it from the commercial side, is on the downward.
Right.
Of course, we know the reason. There are so many factors, business factors, and of course, we know that if you want to make millions, you don't have to put your money in the media because it's not where you get an immediate gain.
You're right. You're right.
But in terms of providing, I think what gives us joy as media people is the access to information we provide to our people. So for us, it's a service to the country and our citizens. So it's been good. Kenga Online, as you mentioned, is an online newspaper we are publishing, and it's intentionally focused on the southeast.
Okay.
Oh, southeast.
Southeast of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, you know what has been going on. The southeast is one area that has been completely underreported.
All right.
So we decided that we need to give our people voice. We need to provide a platform for them to ventilate. We need to bring their issues to the front burner. That's the main reason why we say.
Yeah, I know. That your online paper is very important because Southeast we know what is going on there. I'm sorry to say, if you are not together right now, Obi and Soludo are fighting the same cousins. So I don't know what to say about it. Your people, thank God your paper is targeting to the Southeast, which I hope will help cushion the trouble that may brew up. But now we're seeing things happen. So I hope that the paper will do justice to the Southeast.
We are decided that we are going to be fair to everyone.
Everyone, okay.
So, and as to even tell you further, as a mark of transparency, we decided we are not going to take any advert placement from any government.
Not even politics.
We may be politicians who are not in government, but any government, so that will not affect our editorial independence. Okay. So that way we are sure, because luckily we are getting a little funding from MacArthur Foundation and the Electioneering Center for Investigative Journalism. So
great.
And so but let me point to you the issue of Soludo and Peter, which is also a trending story. You see, there's so much mischaracterization of the Igbos. When you say you Igbo people, you will always fight, and they say, that is a mischaracterization.
Okay.
Yeah, because every group has its own issues. Rabi Ukpakwanso, who is a presidential candidate of
NNPP, yeah.
He's from the north. Atiku Abubakar is from the north. He is the presidential candidate of PDP. Nobody is saying that Kwakwanso is fighting.
I know the angle you are coming from now.
Nobody is saying that Kwakwanso is fighting Atiku Abubakar. But when it comes to the southeast, the Igbos are fighting. This is simply politics.
I get it.
It has nothing to do with.
Now, can I quickly say something? Because I read an article written by Professor Fabian Osuji, who actually narrated how Soludo became who he is today, how he was helped to become a professor, and he played a vital role to make sure that Charles became a professor. And after that, himself, Okonjo-Iweala, and a few other persons came together also during the Obasanjo administration to make him the CBN governor. So he was helped all the way. And for Soludo to be out today to take on Peter Obi the way he did, that it was uncalled for, that some of the accusation given by Soludo they are baseless. We also listened to the former governor of the state, who also made remarkable statement and said he was ready to bring out the statement of account. And of course, some of them they are public anyway, that Peter Obi left over 9 billion naira in cash. So how can you look at that kind of records as Soludo now and still go ahead to condemn him. That is where people are just not getting it right.
Yeah, you see, this is a political season.
Right.
For politicians, especially those who want power, what in political science we call the real politic. Right. You know, those who want to throw in anything,
right,
everything that's possible to get what they want. You know, this is their season. You know, the issue, Professor Fabian Osuji you mentioned is, I mean, he's my kinsman. He's from we are from the same place. He's an eminent scholar himself, right, very well respected. Yes, he was former Minister of Education under President Obasanjo in 1999. I remember very clearly.
Right.
You see, he is annoyed as so many other people are.
All right.
So you have your take, how you feel about Soludo's. If you ask me my own personal opinion about it, I probably will tell you that I am also, I think Soludo went overboard.
Right.
Okay. But that is not to say that he doesn't have the right to air his own opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, as a governor of the state or as an individual, he has his right to his own opinion to be heard, and he has been heard. People, well, it depends on where you stand on the issue, and you've seen brilliantly the way Peter himself, right, deflated all the episodes that the professor gave in how many pages. Of course, you see, this is just the first installment, because if you saw it's the title, you say part 1, right, which means in the near future you might get part 2 or even part 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I was watching AIT this morning, and one of the guests was saying that I don't know how true it is, right, that Peter B wrote a personal letter to Soludo soliciting for him to support him as the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
I know, whereas ABGA also has his own presidential candidate. So he wrote a letter to him to say, Peter, could you please suspend her on your candidate and support me? So maybe they should have managed it inwardly, but
so that is where the trouble is actually coming out.
Exactly. So because of that, he flared up and started saying a lot of things. But this is something that they will have contained within themselves.
Mr. Uche, do you think maybe Charles is coming from the angle of being ABGA being the political party, well known, and everyone in the region support that very party, is their own party? Why should Peter Obi ignore them or abandon that party and move over to Labour Party where it's not known in the area? Do you think that is one of the reasons why Peter Charles is taking off?
Before I answer that question,
right,
I would like to clarify something. Let me go back to Professor Osuji matter.
Right.
You know, you made mention that Professor Osuji said that he was part of the...
He was instrumental.
That to help. He didn't help Professor Soludo.
Right.
He didn't help him to become a professor.
Okay.
He was just on the team. I think he was a chairman of council that time when Professor Soludo's papers came for assessment to be made a professor.
Yeah.
So this is a normal procedure, and everybody knows that Soludo has been a wonderful.
And of course, he spelled out that he gave his consent.
Yeah, no. You see, if the guy is good, are you going to withhold your consent? So that's why I told this is a season of politics. People are twisting stories, exactly, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Nobody should question Soludo's credentials as an intellectual.
Right.
He's been a first-class scholar.
There's no doubt about
all
it.
his life. So no question of there is nothing like any mago in his professor. That Professor Suji was only expressing his
disappointment, right, displeasure. Yeah.
Yes. Well, of course, this is not the first time we are hearing that. Even during the Anambra presidential debate, you saw Andrew also helped saying that he helped and the appointment of Soludo as the CBN governor. He put in words for him and all that, which Soludo was always saying it's not true, it's not about. I don't want to go there, because for you to become something in Nigeria, no matter how brilliant you are, one or two people must put in words for you.
That's life.
That is life. That's how life is. Whether you are Soludo is humble enough to admit that is a different matter. Entirely. Right. And to go to the issue of managing their differences, right. I think it's beyond that. When you read Soludo's epistle, as some people are calling it, so many subterranean issues there. It goes beyond whether he wants him to a person to step down for him. There are also some people who are saying that, well, Soludo may have his eye on the presidency.
When?
Maybe in the next 8 years after his tenure.
Okay.
So P2B becoming president now
is an obstacle.
It diminishes that is a
ambition. And he's not thinking that if P2B performed so well, Nigeria will say, okay, this guy's from this region.
Okay, that is if
you know how Nigeria is structured, right. Zoning with the zoning thing and all that. If it comes to the southeast now, it means that somebody like what's his name, Professor Soludo, may kiss it goodbye before it will return back to the southeast. So for him, I'm not saying I'm right, but this is also what some people are thinking.
Right.
That he is trying to pull Obi down because he probably has his eyes on that.
Me think it's a personality. That is a personality clash.
That might not be true. It might be a personality clash, which is another angle to it. It might be partisan, like this one is from a guy like you mentioned. This one is a Professor Sudo has the right to support his own party candidate, which is Professor Omadi, a seasoned jurist himself. Okay, but when you read further, you will see where Professor Ludo was casting aspersions that P2B, this is not in the interest of the Igbos. What he's doing is not in the interest of P2B is jumping from one party to the other, forgetting that he himself jumped from PDP to ABGA. So, these politicians you really don't have to be kill yourself for them. Like I told you, I was pleased with P2B deflected all that, and said, look, he's a professor, I'm a trader.
Yes.
All right. So he knows better than
exactly.
Even if it's sarcastic, but
it's a matured way of
dealing with it. For those people who are fighting Soludo. And that is also the point I have to make. I think I want to make here. People have been very, very unfair to P2B. All right. You go and attack P2B. P2B will keep quiet. He will not respond to you. Maybe his supporters who feel aggrieved will say, why they? Then you come back and turn. Instead of you to face P2B supporters, you go and face P2B. Okay. And P2B is unleashing his mob on you. That is being unfair.
But they are making him popular actually, because the man is quiet. He does not attack anybody. They are the one attacking him instead.
If you notice, that has been a trend. What's this man, the Omashaye of the Nation newspaper, right. Did that. He wrote a very nasty opinion article called obituary. And when people,
can you imagine that?
When people,
which later the supporters redesigned his own picture as obituary.
Exactly.
He now turned around and said, Peter, that if anything happens to him, you should hold Peter to be responsible.
Can you imagine? No, he started it.
Everybody in the media, this is the game they have been playing against P2B, because everybody knows that P2B, he will not reply you. Right. He's not going. So the people have to be fair to him.
Yeah. All right. Before we get on to other news headlines making stories trending all around the world and Nigeria, there's the story of policemen invading a motor park, an office, a transport company, got the staff beaten up, and one of the ladies actually had a miscarriage as a result of that. A lot of items, money misplaced, and the rest. I don't know how that can be, because the story has it that from ABC company, sorry, it's not based on adverts anyway, in Calabar, Cross River State, received courier services from the public and transport to any destination. Now this guy sent some cosmetics from Lagos to Calabar, and getting to Calabar, they noticed that some of the items were missing. And according to them, when they look at it, they said, okay, it's over 400,000 naira. And the company reached out to the receiver of the item and said, okay, we're going to sort them out because these are insured with them and they can't just let it go. And a few minutes later, they get to hear another report coming out to say, okay, he's charging them 5 million naira for the loss of 400,000 naira cosmetics. And within a few hours, they saw the policemen well armed to disrupt the office, and a lot of things happened. And today we have this report, it's still trending. What do you make of this? I don't know if I'll begin with
police,
because
police brutality.
yeah, this is what we've been talking about. Yeah.
You know, Nigeria police, I don't even know where to place them. I don't know.
Place them somewhere.
I have to place them somewhere. You know, is it that they didn't go to school? Is it that they're not well educated? Is it that they're not trained well? Because you are armed, that doesn't mean you should disarm people. That doesn't mean you should. That no wonder the NSAS activity that took place at that time was apt. It's on point, because we need to rise up to the brutality and the uncultured attitude of the Nigeria police. You cannot just go to a place and begin to do. No, it's wrong. Nigeria police need to be schooled. They need to go back to the basics. They need to be trained. In the other part of the world, even if you commit a very heinous crime, police will smile at you. You're under arrest. You have to follow us to the station. Okay? Take it easy. That's it. The other part. When you get there, they will get there. They will now tell the truth. Yeah. That is how it's supposed to be. Yeah, a suspect. They are already beating you. What is that?
No, it's beyond that. It's the culture of impunity we have in Nigeria. You know, and what you just narrated is simply a case of somebody adopting the tactics of self-help. The law has spelled out how all these things should be handled. You reported the matter to the police. The police will now do what? Simple investigation.
Right.
You know. But from what you've narrated is just simply the lady in question just took to self-help, got some police who are properly doing illegal operation. Yeah. Came to the bus office, bus station, harassed them, intimidate them because they are carrying.
They were beaten
guns.
up.
Yes, that's what it means. It's impunity. And I think if it's ABC company, I know. If it's the ABC company, I know. It's a one of the well-organized transport organizations in Nigeria. Okay. They should be able to follow this matter to its.
And of course, there's also the angle that they forced one of the managers to write a statement under duress at the police station by the police. So they came out to say that statement was written under duress.
Like you say, we are not lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if you are a lawyer, but I mean, with the little elementary laws or anything you done, and if you can prove that is done on duress, is what. It's not what even the paper it was written on. So.
There's this nasty experience I'll never forget.
Right.
Because I happened to be there. 2 of my church members went to my pastor's house to help him clear the well where they fetch water from. One entered the well and for a long time he did not come out from the well. So the second one entered to go and help his colleague there. And for a long time, didn't come out. So then they managed to bring 2 of them out. One was already dead. The second one was breathing. Crowd gathered and they said, let them take them to the hospital. Police said, no, they have to write statement first.
Man.
They have to write statement first. What? And that is how the other one died. Nigeria police for you.
No,
what is that?
No, it's an illiterate police.
Oh my God, what is that? Every time I think about this story, I feel bad.
These days, the police, let's not just put them down. They are some kind of
satanic.
No, not satanic. I mean, some kind of regeneration going on in the police now. You know, they are educated young officers now coming up. So some of these things, I mean, it will take time to weed out this.
Please,
we can wait for that kind of police force anyway. All right, let's get over to some of the stories. First of all, Muslim ticket still trending, and of course it's going to be here for long anyway.
For a long time. For a long time.
And today we saw Tinubu saying that friends criticizing me lobbied for vice president slot.
That was the meeting with Khan, right?
No, not really the meeting with the Khan.
No,
they were others. The one with the Khan was
that was where he made a statement.
To set agenda.
That is where he made a statement.
Okay, so
that's where they made a statement.
All right.
I heard it. He said some people came to lobby him. Some Christians came to lobby him. He didn't agree. That's why they are against Muslim ticket. Okay. I know who they are talking about. Either the former
Boss Mustafa.
Either Mustafa or former speaker.
Yes.
Okay, what's your take on that?
Look, this issue of Muslim ticket, our Christian is uncalled for now. I mean, let's Tinubu and his people, let them smell the coffee. Let them accept the truth that they goofed. The way Nigeria is configured, we are all in this country. Even the constitution, it's even a constitutional matter. When you read the federal character, what the federal character says, that's why you have the federal character in the Nigerian constitution.
Exactly.
That no ethnic group or group of people or whatever can dominate the governance of the institutions.
Exactly. But we see that every day.
But that's what it is. So that's why once you have a Christian president, you have a Muslim vice.
It has been like that.
It has always been like, even under the military.
Even the same Tinubu, that was the excuse he used that time.
Exactly.
He was to be the VP
in 2015.
Exactly.
Precisely in 2015. This same Tinubu now, who is telling you that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You see, he said why he had to nominate Shibajo in 2015 was because he knew that it would not fly. So if it would not fly in 2015,
why now?
Why is it flying now?
Why now?
20? I see. I don't think that it will make any difference whether you are a Christian or a Muslim if you do the right things and take Nigeria as your primary focus. But beyond that, the way the country is structured, the way we have so many fault lines, religious, ethnic, linguistic, these are all different. In fact, in politics, we say Nigeria, what the language we use in political science is a plural society. Right. Nigeria is a plural society.
Yeah.
And in plural societies, you must carve out the way. Politics is not, if you continue politics the way what they are doing, let's go and decide it by vote, majority. You know what you will have? You will have a permanent majority and a permanent minority, which is not what society is supposed to be.
I know. So, in that meeting yesterday, someone was saying that if Tinubu, his wife is a Christian, okay, redeemed. If Tinubu could not convert his wife to be a Muslim, he won't do that to the larger society. That argument is not tenable at all.
No,
we're talking about the peaceful coexistence of the country. His wife is a family thing. We're talking about Nigeria. We're talking about the northern part of the country that is larger than other parts of the country. We're talking about the session that's always in trouble.
Yeah.
Always Boko Haram, insecurity, this is where it is. And we're talking about a system whereby 100% of all the security architecture is headed by Northerners. What is that?
Let me even help you.
Help me, please.
Let me even help you. What is Boko Haram asking for? Boko Haram says they don't want to see everybody should be a Muslim.
Exactly. That is it.
And what is Muslim ticket?
It's the same thing now.
So this thing is simple for us, for anybody to see. It's easy for you to say it doesn't matter. The Christians, those who are telling you that it doesn't matter are also the ones who are playing this religious card.
Exactly.
If it did not matter, why would Tinubu go and allegedly hire fake pastors and bishops before? If it didn't matter.
Exactly.
Well, you're not a lawyer. I would have asked if there are no consequences for such an act as a public office holder and a presidential candidate. Well, that wasn't good enough to represent misrepresentation anyway.
Exactly.
And
nobody's talking about it, and it's an offense. Yeah. It's an offense. Yeah. Where in fact, not an offense to the country, offense to spirituality. You are not a pastor, and you are posing as a bishop.
Yeah, we've seen so many people like that in the police custody where you get to hear of impersonation.
Impersonation.
Yes.
Yeah. That's impersonation.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what happened? Money exchange hands.
Okay. Of course, money will always exchange hands. Like we saw what happened in Jos the other day. I'm sure you come to the APC the rally. You saw how they were throwing stones at Tinubu. You saw the video.
Yeah, I saw the video.
But some people are saying that there are people who were hired crowd who are promised some money, and in the end they didn't get what they were promised, and they got.
Okay, away from there, let's get to find out what is happening between the ASU and the federal government, because today we still have another story here. Federal government ASU begins fresh showdown. Minister is still on the matter. Should we look at it that there are elements somewhere sitting down to make sure that the system don't work, or should we look at it that the ASU themselves has this issue within themselves that are not ready, to dissolve or to resolve them? We don't know what to really take.
Sorry, before this ASU thing, they have lost 1 year already. Why are we still debating this and that? We heard that maybe they were paid half salary.
And up till now, the federal government is still insisting that they can't pay for the period of time that they were out of.
But you see, ASU followed the due process before going on strike.
Right.
I know, the government, they don't have the language you understand is strike. They are approaching you gradually. They give you 2 weeks notice, it has expired. 1 month notice, it has expired. You will not say anything, until they go on strike before you start saying, okay, let's meet. And at the meeting, they'll be talking from both sides of the mouth. The thing dragged more than 9 months. And now it has been resolved. To pay is another problem. What is that? And they have their children schooling outside the country, so they're not bothered. So that is the problem. Paid ASU, okay, APC for instance, I'm sorry, SPC, 100 million naira to buy form. How many people bought the form? We have the money. Our children's future is at stake. Please. Our children's future is at Uche, please, help me.
You see, this ASU thing is not, it didn't start with the Buhari regime, and it will not end with the Buhari regime. It's been I lost, when I was in the university, I lost 1 year in my first degree.
Right. That was many years ago.
1993, I lost 1 year. When I went back for masters, I lost another 1 year in 1990. I was supposed to leave graduate school in 1996. I left in 1997. So cumulatively, I lost 2 years to ASU strike. We could have made a lot of difference in my life. Okay, so it didn't start today. But you see, when a government loses the trust of the people. That's a problem. This particular Buhari government, APC government, is suffering a deficit of public trust, and it has caused it because if you can't tell the truth, I mean, if you go back to the classical philosophers like Plato tells you the government is not a guesswork. It's based on exactitudes, you know. So you say one thing, you do another thing. You are telling the people. Look at ASU. ASU had been on strike. Suddenly, you went to court, got a judge. Okay, you went to a industrial court.
Industrial court.
They say ASU. They got a injunction. ASU. They said ASU, you must go back to before you ASU say we appeal this judgment. I will appeal it. They said before you actually file a stay of execution. They said no. Before the court said before you appeal court said
looking at every excuse to squash the
appeal court said before you even hear your case, you must obey the order. That's government. ASU decided to call off the strike based on the understanding and intervention of Femi Bajabiamila, the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, who staked his own integrity and his honor and said, look, I'm speaking for you, government will do the right thing. Suddenly, government turned back and said, I started paying ASU half salary. And this, you see, these are the kind of things that cause a lot of, and let me get to the point, to tell you how dishonest this government is. The same government that is telling ASU that you have to pay, the same court. You see, they are using even the judiciary. The judiciary that is telling ASU that you must obey before we hear your appeal. You must look at the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Appeal court has said that discharging Nnamdi Kanu and should be released. What did the government say? The government quickly ran to another court and said they are the Supreme Court. The same government that's saying that the court that say why is the court not telling you, okay, you must obey this judgment, as is in the case of ASU first, releasing Nnamdi Kanu before we hear your substantive your matter. They are not doing it.
So why do you how do you think this story should play out? Should the federal government apologize to the country, to the citizens?
Federal government apologize.
This government is completely insensitive.
All right.
They don't listen to anybody. They are there for themselves. They don't care about the citizens. It's not their business. They are riding roughshod on everybody. So they think they have all the institutions of the state in their hands, judiciary, the legislature, and even the what do you call it, the secret services.
Yes, sir.
So the security agencies. So what can you do? This government is clearly a despotic.
You know what your guest Barrister he said yesterday, that we are tenants in this country, that
clearly
citizens don't have a say.
Exactly.
What government says stays, and is bad. It's not done anywhere.
Simply,
you know.
Let me be happy.
Okay.
What this government is doing is simply what you call in our own balance 419. You lured ASU out of the strike. The ASU is okay with the understanding. If you use a public figure, a Speaker of the House of Reps, ASU, they say, okay, we'll go back to class. And when they start saying, you not turn back and say you are going to, because these are some of the, we've not seen the agreement they reached with Femi, but these are some of the things Femi Bajabiamila told them, don't worry, go back, we'll sort out all this.
But now they are speaking on the other side of
I won't be surprised if by next two weeks,
we go back on strike.
Go back on strike again.
You know, talking about governance issue, Barrister he, your friend, told me yesterday, behind the camera, he said, Malaysia, Prime Minister of Malaysia, in the evening, took a stroll to a bar to take a drink with his friends, okay, after work. And then, in the process, he bought Coke and mineral for his friends. And then he put the charge of the Coke to government, for government to pay, instead of paying from his pocket. Prime Minister, right. He was queried for doing so. You know what happened? He resigned.
Yes.
For a bottle of Coke,
that's why you have
he resigned. That is where government works. Yeah. But here, citizens don't have a say. Government, whatever government has said, stays. Is wrong. We need to get back to the root and let this country work like other countries.
Like you rightly put it, most of these government officials there, you see on social media every day, they are not even ashamed to display the pictures of their children graduating in universities abroad. That's how bad it is.
Imagine that.
That's how bad it is. You know, they are not even ashamed about it. When children of other people in their country are out of school. In fact, even Femi Gbajabiamila, who intervened, he intervened because he got a backlash from when he posted the picture of his schooling in Harvard.
Okay, before we go on a short break, you're talking about Gbajabiamila. I don't really understand when you said Gbajabiamila actually intervened. How? The students, stayed back at home and strike lasted for 8 months. Where was Gbajabiamila for this 8 months? Well, yeah, but when I get to hear Nigerians say he intervened, he helped the situation. Gbajabiamila is part of the system, is part of the problem. He's one of the political leaders. He's not just ordinary Nigerians like they call other people.
When he came, even though he came late, at least he tried.
No, but let me puncture that argument.
Right.
Gbajabiamila is the Speaker of the
House of Reps. Right.
What did the Senate President do?
Yeah, they are the same.
Did the president give an order to the Minister of Education to stop the strike within 2 weeks?
Did he work?
Did he do anything? Nothing.
Well, let's go on a short break. When we return from there, we focus on other stories that we have.
Yeah, when we get back, by the time you get back, I'll be off your set. It will be left for you and Uche to discuss electioneering and political intrigues. And I know Uche will do justice to that.
All right, thank you so very much. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
Television Nigerian is one of the leading giants in Nigeria's digital broadcasting. We deliver quality productions to clients from all sectors of life. We are experts in program streaming, event coverage, news reporting, adverts, documentaries, personality profiling, skits and jingles. You can advertise now on Television Nigerian network platforms or sponsor programs like The Patriot, Spectacle, Business Daily, Security Dossier, and other programs. To publicize your business from ground state to the zenith, we have the capacity to introduce, promote, and publicize your businesses to increase patronage. We associate with quality to attract clients like you. Television Nigerian is your media solution. Television Nigerian is one of the leading giants in Nigeria's digital broadcasting. We deliver quality productions to clients from all sectors of life. We are experts in program streaming, event coverage, news reporting, adverts, documentaries, personality profiling, skits and jingles. You can advertise now on Television Nigerian network platforms or sponsor programs like The Patriot, Spectacle, Business Daily, Security Dossier, and other programs. To publicize your business from ground state to the zenith, we have the capacity to introduce, promote, and publicize your businesses to increase patronage. We associate with quality to attract clients like you.
All right, it's good to have you back on our program on Daybreak Africa. This is one special program where we talk about a lot of trending stories all around the world, beginning with Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. Having Mr. Uche Waja right here, to discuss on some of the trending stories, disturbing stories all around Nigeria, most especially in the political scene and the era where we are. Campaigns are on, a lot of stories are going on, a lot of public outcry of some of the things we've never experienced in our system or in our country before happening north, south, east, and west. And we are asking a lot of questions. How did we get to this point where we are today? Where even the government, it looks as if they're out of control of the whole menace that is actually besieging us. All right, Mr. Che, before the break, we're looking at some of the narratives we had on the ASU and the rest. We also had a little touch on the police brutality and the rest. First of all, how did the weapons get to these young people's hand, to these policemen, where you get to the street, you see a man in the name of being a police on mufti, but you see him with AK-47. These are some of the things we should be looking out today and find out how we get to where we are. But first of all, how do you see the atmosphere regarding the elections and campaigns, coming up regarding 2023 general election?
Well, the campaign season is already on food, is on us already. So it's on and it's moving very well. Parties will have to go and their members will have to canvass for votes. That's what makes democracy beautiful. The vote choice. Democracy has placed on the electorate the power to decide who will govern him or her. That's what we call the principle of popular sovereignty. Right. The people decide who will govern them. So for you to get that decision, you have to canvass. You have to move about. You have to go to places, regions, zones, and talk to people and convince them why they have to vote for you. Right. And so it's already started. And between now, the danger in it is that between now and February, March next year, you will have less of governance, but more of politics.
Okay, I love this last point you just raised now, but I was going to ask something before getting to this point. How democratic is Nigeria? Because we're talking about a democracy, and it's supposed to be the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But at this point in time, it seems it's the government of the people, for the few persons, by few persons, and it looks as if we are not really democratic enough at this time.
Well, normatively,
right?
Normatively, the definition you provided is correct. Democracy is a power by the people and for the people. That's the normative definition.
Right.
But in real sense of it, all over the world, it's just the power, but it's the few that govern. Right. Once you have the power majority in government, it becomes a mob rule. So all over the world, the reality of democracy is that it's a few people that govern. But then those few people must be the representatives of the electorate. So in terms of qualifying Nigerian democracy, well, you can say no democracy is really perfect. But
out of Nigeria.
But in Nigeria, we still have a long way to go, because even the process of the election itself is not very fair. Historically, we've had it. You've seen the INEC, how independent is INEC, especially from the point of view that is the government in power that appoints the chairman of INEC and appoints the resident electoral commissioners and all the big officers there. And you've seen the controversy already going on. We have some people allegedly belonging to political parties are made recs in INEC, and they are supposed to be the umpire to the election.
Right.
When they are already partisan people, and you are appointing them into government, in spite of the how do I put it, the protestations from the civil society. Those people, the National Assembly, the Senate, okay them, and they're the ones going to conduct the election for you.
Okay, away from there, you made a statement here saying that from now till 2023, generally, there will be less of governance. What do you think will change? What would make Nigeria have less of governance? Why I'm putting up this question, because in 2011 there was a general election, and after the election the president was sworn in and other government officials also came on board and started the administration, and the next thing we heard was 2050 general election. All the attention, everyone started investing, started the process of getting the 2050 general election. There was no time for governance. And after 2015 general election, where the APC took over powers, the attention now moved away from the governance again to 2019. And after 2019, you started hearing different stories again, how 2022 is going to look like. is there space? Can we have the space for governance? Where is the governance? How did we get to the point where we have all this and we still feel that, okay, there's governance in place?
Yeah, well, you see, in well-organized societies,
right,
in advanced democracies,
right,
it's the effect of an electioneering campaign on governance is less than what we have in our own system, because these are democracies that have internalized the rules of the game. Okay, but here, for us here, is everything is, politics dominates everything in Nigeria.
That's right.
Yeah, and if you look, I'll give you a small example. If you look at and which is one of the things this government is doing very badly. Who is Buhari's Bola Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate spokesperson? Festus Keyamo. Who is he? What is Festus Keyamo?
He's a son.
No, beyond that, in this government, he holds a position in this government. He's a minister.
He's a minister.
So for him, that ministerial job is now secondary.
Secondary, right.
So that's the problem where the challenge comes. Because you see, part of the problem is this: all these politicians now already know that this president Buhari is what we call a lame dog president. By next year, he will exit. So they are moving on to the next. The one they think that is possibly going to be the next president, so that they can maintain their relevance in government. So these are some of the issues, and all these things work together to affect the quality of governance you get. Well, Buhari tried to play it down and say, well, people like his vice presidents are not involved in the campaign because he wants them to concentrate I think people in Gigetu is not part of it. But many people think that it's a smooth screen because there might be something else going on. Probably everybody knows that Oshibanjo, after the primaries, presidential primaries, is not really on very good terms with Bola Tinubu. So if he's not involved in the campaigns, it's probably not because he wants to concentrate on governance. So, but that aside, you see, we play too much politics in Nigeria and do too little governance. That's the problem we have. Too much politics, little.
Should we
governance.
say some of the political leaders we have are not well informed to know that there's a place of politics and there's a place of governance?
No, they do know.
Right.
It's not like they don't know. They know. The problem is if the man at the top, the president, is not putting his foot down and insisting. And to worsen the matter, like I told you, he is now a lame dog president.
Right.
So he just has a few months to exit from power. So naturally, all over the world, that's what happens when the president becomes lame dog. He gets lesser phone calls. He gets lesser number of people who want to see him because people are already moving on to the next possible.
Right. Okay. This is one program on television Nigeria where we talk about a lot of stories. First, we look at the trending stories. From the trending stories, we also move to look at the electioneering and politics of intolerance in Nigeria. And the question is, how is the atmosphere charging towards the 2023 general election? Are we on the right path? Or what are we doing that can actually bring us to have this result that everyone is looking out for? We saw a lot of intolerance within the political class. We're not looking at the supporters at this time. Let's look at the political class, where you get to hear a lot of language that you never thought a public office holder, a leader, can actually come out and say, okay, this is how it is. And you listen. Sometimes we feel ashamed that my leader, a Nigerian leader, could speak that way. How did we get here? Do you think this kind of people deserve another opportunity to continue leading Nigeria as leaders?
Well, I guess it's as good as mine because it's not whether they deserve it or not.
Right.
What happens is that in the election, will there be free and fair election? Okay. Our experience in this country has taught us that you hardly have a free and fair election. So the leaders who are saying are probably not products of a transparent electoral system, a process. So it's not whether they are deserving on it or not. So, but for us to get the kind of quality leaders we are talking about, we have to first of all fix our electoral process.
Right.
That's where the challenge is. Well, with all what INEC is saying, BFAS and all that, okay, it will help sanitize. But yes, we all clamor for the introduction of a technology into our electoral process, which BFAS is one sign of it. But how far will it go? Already you see what is going on now. The INEC is displaying the voter register. You can see for yourself in the social media what do you call it? Children, list of children found in the INEC register. You can see their pictures clearly. Children, people who are not up to 8 years, some 9 years. On INEC, how did it get there? And this is what is happening. And this in the end, you will say a referee. How can an underage be part of the electoral process?
Okay, that means that INEC has a very vital role to play.
Oh, yes.
Regarding this. Okay, away from there, looking at some of the stories that we've been able to, digest. Let's get back to what President said regarding the general election coming up. There are some remarkable statements that up till today, Nigerians are not really comfortable with, to get to hear the president saying that he has given the military order to shoot aside anyone who is going to be, used as a ballot boss snatcher and the rest of other vices in that angle. Now the question is, who is Nigeria president? Is he saddled with the powers to pass a verdict, a death sentence on, a criminal? Are there no processes? That is one. Secondly, how comes is the president now bringing the military into the democratic system of governance? Is it good enough? And we listened to, the other day we listened to the interview, Festus Keyamo and Dino, and they also had a lot of, in fact, words that were not even meant to be, where someone has to talk, you are sick, you need to be taken back to London, you need to... These are some of the things that give birth to the troubles we have and the intolerance we have here. But let me hear your view on the president's comments.
Well, this is not the first time the president is saying shoot aside.
Okay, this is not the first time.
This is the first time. In 2019 election, he said so. That he has ordered the army to shoot aside every person carrying ballot box. How many people did you hear that was shot aside in 2019?
Right.
This is not a very. He gave also. You remember the famous that he has instructed the army and the police to shoot anybody carrying AK-47. In the case of what do you call it, Fulani herdsmen, how many people were shot outside? So it's not like a presidential order is something that you want to underplay, but if history is anything to be trusted, this is not the first time the president is making this, giving this kind of orders, and it didn't change much. In 2019, you saw what was happening in Rivers State. Right. Even the soldiers allegedly were involved in the rigging of elections. So this thing is a president should be concerned because, but you remember he also said that one legacy he wants to leave for Nigeria is a legacy of free and fair election. So far, is that true? Has he done anything that seems to suggest that he wants to leave any legacy? You see the electoral act that is signed. You saw the pressures that the civil society, everybody mounted on him before he was able to reluctantly sign that electoral act. that introduced beavers now. So this president does this with what we've seen with INEC. The people here he nominated to be members of who are clearly, some of them have been allegedly members of card-carrying members of political parties. Some of them are even alleged to have contested elections and lost in some political parties, and the president nominated to be member of REC, to be REC in INEC. So is that the kind of does that suggest that this president wants to leave any legacy in terms of a free and fair election, which he benefited from? I don't think so.
All right. We can go on a short break, and when we return from that short break, we also look at one or two stories before we call it a wrap on this very program today. Well, the president comment is still trending, asking the military to shoot aside or anyone with, So with this kind of stories trending all around Nigeria and beyond the shores of Nigeria, the question is the president really serious with that statement, like most Nigerians are asking? Do you really mean it, Mr. President? Well, don't go away. We'll be back shortly, and Mr. Uche is still right here for us to have a little discussion before we call it a wrap. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
Your body bang, 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 your body bang. And I give us when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the bud. Every time you bend the low, come on girl, when you take a selfie, when you take a pose, you the ginger the boy. Every time you bend the low.
Want to shoot a dope music video at 50% discount?
50% discount?
Yeah, 50% discount. Bougie Down to Television Nigeria with world-class equipment and a badass expert crew.
Okay, face your camera now. Shh. Continue.
Where was I? Everything extra.
Carolina, you bada.
Hurry up.
All right, it's good to have you back on our program this morning. Daybreak Africa on television, Nigeria. I'm Keisha, and having Mr. Uche right here for us to have this discussion is very, very wonderful opportunity that we have, having his personality here. And don't forget that Mr. Uche is not just ordinary Nigerian. He is a public affairs commentator, and he also a publisher, editor-in-chief of Ikenga Online. Well, that is one newspaper that you need to reach out, where they have a focus on dealing with the news from a particular geopolitical zone in Nigeria here. And Mr. Uche, let's return back. Based on some of the discussion we have so far, let's look at the aspect of this intolerance from the grassroots, the supporters of all this political class. What is your take on some of the activities of these political supporters?
Well, I think to understand the anatomy of intolerance in Nigerian politics, you have to go to the roots.
Right.
If you look at Nigeria, some sections of this country, some geographical zones, are traditionally feudalistic. When you have a feudalistic system, you notice that the supporters we are talking, for instance, the members of they look up to some authorities for informed decisions, whether in the area of politics or religion, or even general societal issues. So they look, especially, for example, if you go to the north, an average northerner will look towards his emir, his traditional ruler, his religious leader, to make informed political decisions. So, But when you come down to the southeast, for the south, and particularly the area in the southeast, for instance, where you have so much of republicanism, right. People really can say, look, there's no recognizable authority, figurehead you want to, so these things are, so it's that where you have this feudalistic trend, you all it's likely for you to have a head, what we call a head mentality, people moving towards one direction, and so that's why you are seeing what is happening in politics now. For instance, if you go in the north, there have been attacks, there have been cases of attack in Maduguri on Atiku and his supporters. In Kaduna, the same thing. We also saw some people in Plateau, in Jos, a few days ago, throwing stones at the APC. So these things, supporters really don't behave that way if there is no leader. There must be somebody somewhere pulling the
instigator.
Yes, right. It's pulling that string. So it's not really, it's not usually a spontaneous thing, for supporters to. There must be some. Of course, in the case of Bruno, we heard that there was the state chairman of APC allegedly made some incendiary statements. Right. Inciting the people, telling them that even if he means killing people to win this election, we are going to kill. So, so that's the kind of thing you get. But it's unfortunate for any supporter really to die for a politician. Very, very, very unfortunate, because if you look at the trend, these politicians, they are friends. They only quarrel during election time. When they are after this election, you see now one of them, their son will marry the daughter of an opponent in another political party, and they will embrace themselves there. So it's only when they want these votes, they knock the heads of these unsuspecting supporters.
Okay, that means we need to really work on Nigerian supporters clubs in all ages, most especially the youth aspect, because it's like it's divide and rule, where a political leader understood the language of the young people, and he goes ahead to make sure that, okay, these people, I know what to do, and to ensure a free, credible campaign towards the general election. Do you think that some of these young people should be educated? Nigerians in general, or political leaders, should hold some political symposium where they have opportunity to talk to these young people across the 36 states. And of course, this should be like real, not the lies, not the making up of stories. Don't you think is polite enough?
Yeah, before I even get to that answer,
right,
I will go back to this issue of intolerance in terms of supporters.
Yeah.
You see, the other aspect of it which we are ignoring is that some of these supporters, from the stories we are getting,
right,
some of these attacks or fights are a result of the political parties hiring crowds, promising them some kind of remuneration,
right,
and in the end, they don't fulfill the promises. And this most of these guys are urchins, or many of them bike riders and all kinds of people. So you promise them 2,000, okay, come out. You give them 1,000, or 2,000. When we finish the rally, we'll give you 3,000, and you don't give them that money. So so this is one also another aspect of these attacks we are seeing. But to get to the question you just asked, you see, political education, you can never have enough of political education. Right. And political parties, that's one of the essential rules of a political party, providing political education. But many of these political parties are not doing that. They are simply looking for votes. As a political party, part of their responsibility is to educate their members, educate the public, enlighten the public on the electoral system,
It's not just about voting for you, but also what the role of citizenship is in the electoral process. So there is no political education. You can't have an overdose of political education. Right. Political parties must do enough. INEC also has a role in this direction. Of course, they have a public affairs department that is always educating people. So that I can say that INEC is doing well in that direction. You see them oftentimes come out and educate. This is what we are doing. This is what we expect you to like in this voter registration. And
now, don't you think what the INEC really they are out to do? We are expecting much more from them, because sometimes you get to hear people talk. There's a difference between you talking and you putting your actions together, that your actions match your words. If INEC said, okay, you this is what you're supposed to do, and later on you get to hear a lot of stories about INEC, how some of the INEC staff connive with the politicians to make sure that they rig elections. Then the next season, you get to hear INEC talking. Do you think that Nigerians would take them serious? Because after talking, they go back home and do something else, different from what they are talking to the public about.
You know, the problem of INEC is a big one. You know, right. I mentioned it before.
Yeah.
You know, as long as INEC, the leadership of INEC is appointed by the president, you can never guarantee the independence of INEC. I don't know why the National Assembly has not looked in that direction of amending that piece of legislation, you know, and say, for you to be INEC chairman, this is, you take it, the appointment of INEC chairman, that responsibility from the president. Take it from the president. You know, as long as it's the president that is appointing INEC, you can never guarantee the independence of INEC. What the question you raised about collusion is simply born out of a lack of that capacity for autonomy. Right. That's what it's all about. Because the INEC people will still go to the president for funding, although he's now in a first line charge. I understand the fact. So, but as long as, because even the present chairman of INEC now, if Buhari wakes up tomorrow and says he's tired of this man, he will get rid of him. So it's as good as that. So, but if you want an INEC that is independent and impartial, take the appointment of the leadership of INEC, take that away from the executive. That will solve that problem. Because what you see, the most INEC chairmen, and what they do is try to satisfy the government in power. That's simply, they bend the rules most times. Even in the last primaries, you saw how INEC was moving about bending the rules to accommodate APC in their primaries. You know.
So that is where the intolerance became from?
No, the intolerance itself is a completely different thing from independence.
Yeah, because I'm just looking, because if the INEC don't bend to the directives of the executive or the president, there will be clash. And when you are talking about clash here, a lot of INEC staff or INEC body will do something that will be detrimental to the process of the something that's supposed to be for the benefit of the country, not the executive this time around. I'm just thinking that the president as well, the executive, they look at it and understand that, okay, if we can hold these people to ransom, they will definitely act our instructions, our decisions will go. So probably the money that's supposed to be for INEC, they have to hold back the money until INEC carries out their instructions before they can actually... I
don't think they can hold back the money again, because the INEC now is on the front line, first line charge, you know, getting their...
That is understood.
But the issue is that as the INEC chairman, appointed by the President Buhari...
The President Buhari.
Do you have that personal
capacity,
character?
Right.
That honesty to look the president and say, Mr. President, I cannot do this. It's against the president might not ask you, But people might use his name to ask you for favors.
Right.
His party members may use it, and they even throw in the president's name into, even though the president is not aware of it. So, are you, as a INEC chairman, do you have the capacity to say, no, I cannot do this? We do have some big characters in INEC, people like Mike Igini, who has just left, okay, but not all of them are like Mike Igini, who can stand a governor Akpabio and say, look, Your Excellency, this is not in our rule book, we can't do this. So how many of them are like that?
Okay, away from there, let's quickly look at some of the challenges we have within the political rallies holding within Nigeria, and we've seen a lot of things going on, from the language, to some of the trips they make around within Nigeria. My interest here is there's so much insecurity. The other day, they took jets to Jos for the political rallies.
Yes.
And you were expecting Nigerians to be out comes 2023 for the general election to vote at every polling unit. What secure their safety? How safe are these voters? Do you think Nigerians will come out and say, okay, let's cast a vote? Do you think that the people will sit back and say, okay, no, my life is not, I'm not safe, I can't come out? Do you think that the government is aware that, okay, when they allow this intolerance, they allow these guys to go around with AK-47, that will give them a victory to make them manipulate the system and get what they want?
Well, with regards to insecurity, I have my fears.
All right.
As someone, I'm from the southeast.
All right.
I'm from the southeast zone, and our zone is literally saying
it's more tensed.
Yeah, a tensed area.
Right.
And you have seen it even during the registration process. There was an incident where unknown government came and shot at INEC staff to register and told us and declared that no election will take place in this zone. We told you. So you have a group of people, secessionists, who are saying they want their own country, and this election is not part of. We are not part of it. It's not we are not interested. So I have my fears for Southeast. That is one. But in other places too, you see, insecurity can also be used as a tool for politicians to have their way. I mean, you and I lived in this country. In 2015, Borno State, Yobe State, these were the states that were ravaged by Boko Haram insurgency.
That's right.
But when the election figures came out, you saw what happened. Their votes, the votes from Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa were far greater than the places where you had peace.
Right.
So who are the ones doing that voting? So this insecurity thing can also be some kind of a subterfuge, if you like. I think some of these securities you are even talking about are engendered by politicians.
Well engineered, right?
By themselves. What you are likely going to see, and which is my greatest concern, is that in places where a particular candidate is favored to win, those who have the control of the
polling unit.
Not the polling, who have the control of a security apparatus, will close their eyes. In the places where a candidate they favor will win, there might be breakout of violence in those places, which may force INEC to cancel election in those places, because I think that's what is going to happen. If there's a violence in a place, an area, INEC will not have any choice. Election will not take place in those places.
One of this lawyer that came was our guest did mention that it's not all about general election. It's all about Nigerians to have this opinion or something that has to separate the elections from the governance, to ask themselves, do we really need elections, or do we need a better country? When we ask ourselves such questions, it will determine the kind of leadership that will provide that country we're looking out for. I don't know if you're in agreement with that anyway, because if APC discover, okay, PDP is going to win Abuja, let's say Amak, and APC will do all they can to make sure that either they disrupt the process in Amak, or they have their way into it. Now, what is the responsibilities of Nigeria? Because you don't just impose yourself on people. You have to be elected.
You see, the point you raise is quite clear. You see, patriots, like one former American president said, right. Patriots look to the next generation.
Right.
Whereas politicians look forward to what? The next election.
Right.
So for them, this patriotic sentiment is not what counts for them. They want to win the election. And what if a typical Nigerian politician will do anything to win an election? That's the typical Nigerian politician. And this intolerance we are even talking about, part of it is that these politicians don't have any solid issues to canvass, to tell the people. If you have like
political ideology and the rest.
I mean, you can accuse me of being a little bit partisan towards P2B. See how P2B is going about telling people, this is what I want to do.
Right.
Is anytime you call him, you come and explain. Some people are not even explaining. They are not even coming out. They are not talking to anybody. They are not even. They don't even. That's how much they hold you in derision. You know, they don't even to care. They, in their mind, they know they will win this election by hook or crook. They don't even want to talk to you. They are giving, if you invite them to, what do you call it, debate, they will find one excuse and tell why they will not show up. If you invite them, they send somebody, a representative. They don't even want to engage the public. So, and these are part of the problem.
Oh, which means that they have a lot in place to make sure that the system works to favor them and not just what Nigerian feels or the electorate feels they can do.
That's you see the problem. Part of the problem of democracies that are still not advanced, right, is this so-called power of incumbency.
Right.
You know, when you are in power, you control all the agencies of the state. You know, and you use it, and in fact you misuse it. Right. You know, this is the kind of thing that is happening. You will see all this one we are talking, the police, army, the president giving orders to police to shoot. You will still get you quote me today in this election. Let's say you still see the army involved in the election rigging. You will still see the police involved in the election rigging. You know, these things will happen. You know, because people think they are in power and they are in control of the. Why? Let me even ask you. Why is it that during every election cycle in a state, we want to any state they want to the off-cycle elections, they want to have all the gubernatorial elections like the one they did in Osun recently. The one and the next one I'm sure is my own state, Imo State, that will happen. You will notice that before the election, few days to the election, they will change the police commissioner. Why are they doing that?
Probably they feel the police commissioner of the old one has probably compromised with the system, and they need to.
No, they will bring in the one they think that can help them win the election. That's what it's all about. So when that's why when you ask the president says it's order that they will shoot aside, whatever, shoot aside or not shoot aside. Look, it doesn't make any meaning to people like us.
And when we have this kind of system in place, in the next few years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, where do you think will look like? Where do you think will be? And what do you think things would look like as a country?
If you elect the right person.
Right.
If Nigerians elect the right person.
Right.
Somebody who is interested in governing this country. Somebody who has seen the rot that is in the country, who wants to revitalize the system. If we elect the right person, things will get better. You see, look, this country, we will never know how badly this APC has governed this Nigeria until this government is out of power. You will never. In the next president coming, I wish it's not going to be an APC person.
Okay. Let me not allow you go that direction. If I ask you now to rate the administration, the present administration, the APC administration, President Buhari administration, because when I get to hear even the vice president most times addressing people, you get to hear Buhari administration. He never said the APC administration or our administration. You get to hear like Buhari administration. But if I ask you to score or rate the Buhari administration, what comes to your mind? I just allow you to be vague.
No. What score did Buhari give himself?
We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of the presidency.
He has already marked his own record. I said he has done over 80%. So what can we say? See, if you want to go to get Buhari's score, it's simple. Go to the market. Just go to even an average market woman. Go, send your wife to the market. Send her to go and buy a bag of rice, buy household items. That will give you the score of Buhari. I'm not here. I won't be here to tell Buhari has 70. When we go to the market, you find the score of Buhari in the market. It's out there for everybody to see. It's not. It's not a mathematics. Right. It's very simple. Go to the market and see how the prices of things, whether it is fuel that you can't even see, you have to queue for several hours before you get.
So do you think we attribute all this to the APC administration?
Well,
or there are structures set in place in Nigeria that were not really good enough to carry us through?
You know, for the past 7 years, there's one excuse the APC government has been given.
Right.
That is, you see that we didn't know the system was this bad before we came in. That has been their alibi for all the wrongdoings they are doing. They've carried out in the past 7 years. So it's not yes, there are challenges, but before you campaign, you campaigned on the basis of those challenges,
fixing the challenges,
fixing them. Then you come in, you worsen it. What does it speak of? A political party?
All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Uche Waka, for coming to be part of this program today. We hope to have you anytime soon again.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. All right, it's been a wonderful time having Mr. Uche right here to discuss on some of the stories. We've raised the trending stories all around Nigeria, most especially in the political era that we found ourselves. Well, today we just have to wrap up and bring the program to a close. But as we wrap up here, there are still other trending stories here. We have a report coming in from Lagos. A drunken soldier crushed army general to death in Lagos, which is really a heartbroken one. And we pray that the soul of that general rests in peace. And we also have another one here saying the Senate backs the CBN Naira redesign policy. So these are some of the stories trending, and we're still looking out to having a lot of stories. Well, join us tomorrow again for another fresh edition of Daybreak Africa on Television Nigeria. I'm Keisha Onye. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.